Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with the Friday Night Magic Spotlight. This is actually going to be showcased over at GatheringMagic.com for the gameplay, and the old deck list, I've updated it since I've done the video. I done goofed. I did not get the videos done in time for Gathering Magic to post my Rogues Alley series this week, so it's probably going to come early next week. They're hoping to push it out on Tuesday, so my bad. I thought at least I'd show people what I've been working on. This was a fun combo. I got to give a shout out to Maddie Studios over at Twitter for tweeting out the combo of Rite of Passage and Walking Ballista. As it got the gears turning in my mind, I was able to create this deck, and I'm not going to spoil the outcome of the gameplay video, but let's just say I did very well. The deck was running on all gears, was just extremely efficient at combating the fair decks, especially. My only loss was against a non-fair deck. Oh, see, look, I'm already spoiling the outcome. Just wait and watch the series when it comes out for Gathering Magic. But anyways, check your bulk bins for Rite of Passage. I went to go buy some of these for paper because the deck's so fun. And these are impossible to find. All the lists on TCG are people that only have like one-ofs under $2. So if anyone is familiar with how TCG Player works, you have to buy, your cart has to be, or from a specific seller, has to be above $2. So if it is not above $2, it won't let you order unless you add more cards. So it's super annoying to try to get Rite of Passage right now. Was able to get some moderately played ones, but yeah, I just want to play the deck. And maybe I will play some Modern. A bunch of you may know that I've kind of swore off the Modern format. I like to dip my toes every now and again, especially when there's a sweet new combo with Rite of Passage. So anyway, the original list had 4. I thought Rite of Passage actually was the weakest card in the deck, even though I was able to get the combo off more than a few times with the Rite of Passage. So let's just explain the combo. The combo is you need to have Walking Ballista with an Anthem effect of either Winding Constrictor or Hardened Scales. And then Rite of Passage with Walking Ballista will go infinite as long as you have 3 counters on the Walking Ballista, because the creature needs to be a 3/3. Because once you do a damage to Walking Ballista before the trigger goes on the stack or resolves, the counter is also removed. So it'll be a 2/2 with 1 damage on it. And then once the damage resolves, it'll be a 4/4 with 1 damage. Then you remove a counter, it'll be a 3/3 with 2 damage, and then become a 5/5, and then it will always be 1 ahead. If you have 2 Anthem effects, it will be 2 ahead, and it's a lot easier with 2 Anthem effects. But eventually, you can get the Walking Ballista high enough to where then you can swing in for lethal, or basically just go off by removing counters and doing damage to a player. So really, really good card. It's very easy to assemble that combo. And if you don't have the combo, Hardened Scales with Hangarback Walker and Walking Ballista is insanely good right now in the format. It's something that, like, my favorite play is go a first turn Birds of Paradise and do a second turn like Hangarback Walker Hardened Scales, because then they're left with a 2/2 Hangarback Walker on turn 2 that if they let that live for even another turn, it is going to be a 4/4. And at that point, you have something to proactively be doing, and then you can start trying to assemble other things. So we are going to run 4 Birds of Paradise and 2 Noble Hierarchs. The latter versions of this, I ran a lot of Gavony Townships, just because this was one of the cards that I was always happy to see. So land counts can be 21 with 6 Mana Dorks, and that allows us to have this alternate Gavony Township. Gavony Township Winding Constrictor is really good. One of the games I was stuck with like a Hardened Scales and 2 Winding Constrictors and no way to put counters on anything. And I was just basically dead in the water until I drew a Gavony Township. And each Gavony Township was actually adding 4 counters to, I think I had like a Birds and 2 Winding Constrictors. And I was easily able to outpace the deck that I was playing against after that happened. Gavony Township is kind of hard to interact with unless they have like Ghost Quarters. And if they're using Ghosts like a land on a land, you feel pretty far ahead at that point. So the other cards that I like in this deck are Scavenging Ooze and Rishkar. Originally, I did have the Revolt 1/2 Death Toucher from Kaladesh, but I ended up cutting it because it just didn't seem to be doing what I wanted to be doing in the deck. There is some matchups where that's incredibly good. For example, against Skred, was able to go first turn Hardened Scales, second turn the Revolt guy. Why can't I think of the name? And it was up to 3/4, and so it was outpacing the Lightning Bolt and the Skred, and was able to just put pressure on my opponent. And it was the 3/4 Death Toucher was huge at that point. But I think that just having cards like Scavenging Ooze interact with Dredge is a lot better, or Rishkar adding counters on, like, it's a way to put a counter on Winding Constrictor is still really, really powerful. There was a 3 of both of these, but I decided to go a Court of Calling and Eternal Witness just for some more of a resilience type feel to the deck. Because the Eternal Witness can get back any card that we milled with Commune with the Gods, it also allowed me to go down in the count of Rite of Passage, because I can safely just mill either a Rite of Passage, Winding Constrictor, or Hardened Scales, and then just get it back with Eternal Witness. So it gives it a little more of a toolbox feel, I would say. Still like the Commune with the Gods. I think it's the best thing for doing what you want to do here, which is getting the either specific Hardened Scales, the specific Rite of Passage, or the specific Winding Constrictor, or even the specific Walking Ballista for the combo. And so far that's been my go-to card. There might be a better one there. Always interested in the comment section if there is a better. I mean, Sorcery Speed's kind of awkward, but I don't think like what's the Golgari version that gets land or creature is not nearly as good as it can't get the Rite of Passage. So Rite of Passage, I think 2 of's the right number. You don't want to see more than 2. Of course, this is nice if you have multiples out, but it is a 3 drop. So 3 is pretty awkward in Modern. My latest addition, too, was Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. It just seems really good with Birds of Paradise. This little first turn Birds of Paradise, second turn Nissa, create a plant token, is surprisingly good in Modern, especially when you're going up against like Jund or Abzan. It gives you a blocker. What was like Voice of Resurgence in a test I was able to, like it was Abzan, and both the Kitchen Finks and the Voice of Resurgence really couldn't attack in a Nissa. They just chump block the plant token. And eventually the plant tokens can get pretty good after like a Hardened Scales. They become 2/3. And it's just value city. Same with like even Gavony Township and plant tokens. So I think that 3 Nissus is probably the right number. I might go back down to 2 and throw in some more like versatilities, like main board Abrupt Decays could be pretty good. But that's just kind of the gist of the deck. Hangarback Walker is insane with Winding Constrictor and Hardened Scales. So is Walking Ballista. The deck is super fun to play, easy to pilot. It has that infinite combo feel to it, but doesn't need it, which is exactly what I like in these type of resilient-based decks that do have a win con that needs to always be feared. So you'll have them bring in like Thoughtseize type cards to try to break up the combo, or just keep an enchantment removal for it. And at that point, they're wasting a card on a card, and you're still progressing with your deck. So the sideboard, like Thoughtseizes, are just basically in here to break up combo-based decks. Fatal Push I'll bring in versus decks that I absolutely need to kill a specific creature. We do have a lot of fetch lands in this deck to have the Fatal Push be active for a 4 or less. The Rest in Peace Dredge is still big. Thought Rest in Peace is fine here. Abrupt Decay is just basically a very versatile card. You could easily go up into more counts of this. And then Anafenza and Dromoka's Command's more in the sideboard, just as flex spots. So that, again, you'll just have to wait for Tuesday. I'll try to play this more after that video series is out. I don't want to play any gameplays and kind of like compete with myself or compete with my sponsors for this content. But I think getting a deck tech out and kind of hyping up the series is fine. So yeah, if you can look in your bulk bins for Rite of Passages, I highly suggest you find this card, because even if this doesn't end up being like a very viable combo in the format, it's still super fun, and I think the casual players are going to like to put this with their Snake and Hardened Scales deck and give their Walking Ballista a little more oomph than it already has. So even further version of this deck might change a lot. I thought about like even Renegade Rallier as with the Commune of the Gods, because then you can safely just mill your Winding Constrictor or your Hardened Scales. You don't want to be milling your Hangarback Walkers or Walking Ballistas because they get zero use with the Renegade Rallier. But it's still because they'll come back as a 0/0 and just die. But the other cards, they'll come back and you'll get a lot of value off of them. But I don't know if Eternal Witness probably is just better at that point, because mana usually isn't something that is too hard for us to come by. The Rishkar makes Walking Ballistas actually be able to tap for mana, which Hangarback Walker isn't the greatest ability with Rishkar, but Walking Ballista is pretty fun with the Rishkar, because then you can basically add a mana towards putting a counter on Walking Ballista. Walking Ballista just gets so good late game with excess mana, with either Gavony Township or just excess mana and Hardened Scales and Winding Constrictor. So far pretty legit. Had a great win percentage with this deck. Again, not going to spoil too much with it. Just go check out Gathering Magic, hopefully Tuesday. And then after that, we'll try to play some games. So here's my FNM Spotlight for Modern this week. This is the Rite of Passage plus Rite of Passage plus Walking Ballista plus the Winding Constrictor Hardened Scales combo. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this or your own take on the deck. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.